This weekend for Greyhound Athletics. For the first time ever, the second round of the Division II football playoffs hosted at Key, and the Hounds see the second round for the first time since 2018, but they lost to Fort Hays. However, in tragedy and heartbreak, this game ends in a Minnesota State victory, 35-27. Jake, both you and I were on the call. You actually were on ESPN Plus. Tell me about that experience.
Well, always great to get a little bit of that extra exposure. Got to get posted on the main page of Division II for the game-stealing interception. But overall, it was a great season. Got to call a bunch of good games, and I think this was the best game that we got to call. Probably didn't end the way the Greyhound fans wanted it to, but still a very exciting game. You got a little bit of a comeback in the second half, and it fell short, but it was still exciting to call.
21-7 going into the halftime locker room, right? And this is a team that had trailed one time at halftime. That was at Findlay, the only game that they lost all season. But this was a different feeling. You go into Findlay and a few mistakes going to the halftime break leading to that deficit. But Minnesota State came out and they ran the ball all over Indianapolis and found the end zone 3 times in that first half. And then you come out in the third quarter, 7-7 in that third quarter, and then you score 2 straight in the fourth. You're within 1 point at one time against a Minnesota State team who really looked underrated at number 21 in the country. This team had a lot to show both offensively and defensively, and the Hounds made it a great game at home.
I think we really got to see the strength of the Northern Sun this year. You saw Minnesota Duluth make it in.
This was a 3-loss team.
Yeah, because of the teams that they have to play. And we'll get to the Harlan Hill in a moment and talk about one of the quarterbacks from the Northern Sun. But it was you saw the strength of the Northern Sun. They play a way tougher schedule, and they were battle-tested come time to play, and it proved well. They always say in Coach Hoffner we trust over there for Minnesota State. That's their coach. He finds a way to win. He's had 15 straight winning seasons. He has 8 10-win seasons. He just doesn't lose, and he's had that extra. I think now he's got about 36 different playoff games that he's been in, somewhere in that ballpark, and experience bids you well, and we saw that later in the game.
Well, what also made this game interesting, it was the coldest game that the Greyhounds have played this season. We were sitting in, the mid to high 20s with a wind chill down in the 15, 16 degree mark, and that's not an easy game to play. But for Minnesota State, this was the second coldest game that they played this season. They had one matchup where they were looking at
I believe it was Augustana.
And they played about 23 degrees in the snow. So coming out of that Northern Sun, coming out of Minnesota, obviously you're going to have a little bit more of a tolerance for that kind of thing. Do you think that affected the Greyhound offense and their scheming and the way that they wanted to go about things?
I don't think so. I think that's something that maybe talking heads like you and I talk about a little bit more than the coaches or the players. It doesn't really have as much an effect. The rain's going to have a little bit of an effect when you're playing. It's going to make the ball wet. It wasn't snowing at game time. There was a little bit of wind, and it was cold. Maybe that makes the hits a little bit harder to take. And outside of that, I really don't think it played all that big of a factor. The game plan did not change. Sukup threw the ball 26 times. It was actually one of the most he's thrown all season. You look back to the last couple GOVC games, he was only throwing 15, 16 passes because that's all he needed to throw. So you got to see a lot of him in the second half, but you also saw a lot of the run game. Cheryl, Fataki, they both got going in the second half. The offense started rolling. They had 2 straight scores, 2 straight stops. They were looking for that kill, but just could not get the final score.
And it's a heartbreaking way to see the season go down, but you can't talk about this year with talking about the historic numbers put up offensively. You lead what could be known as the best offense in the country this year behind a Harlan Hill candidate and Gavin Sukup. Let's talk about Gavin's numbers this season. How about 72% completion? 3,695 yards on the season with 41 touchdowns. And you can have the debate all you want. You can talk all you want. The talking heads of past and future can talk about the best Greyhounds of all time. Gavin Sukup certainly cements himself up there, top 3, and I think if you ask either of us, he might just hold that top spot.
If you ask me, he does. He's number 1 unanimously. The things he's been able to do at this school, the places he's been able to take them, 3 straight playoff appearances, 3 straight GOVC Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, he's done things that nobody in a Greyhound jersey has done, and I don't really think anybody will do that anytime soon. He's a special player, and I've been very grateful to be able to watch him play. And you'll even, if you get the chance to hear that call, you'll hear the sadness in my voice of that interception. It hurt. It hurt me as a fan to watch him throw that interception, but I got to watch, 40 awesome games of football throughout his career, and he will go down as one of the best Greyhounds to ever do it. But there's a big conversation right here that could definitely add to that legacy with the Harlan Hill. He's just got an uphill battle. I think they're going to see this as his last performance. He throws 2 interceptions compared to, I think he had 10 over the past 2 seasons combined. So they're going to look at this game, and I think it's going to unfortunately weigh a little bit in the mind of the voters. There's another guy for another Minnesota State team, Minnesota State Moorhead. His name's Jack Strand. Everything that Sukup was number 2 in, he was number 1. Everything Sukup was number 1 in, he was number 2. So it's kind of a toss-up right now between those two, but I think those are going to be your finalists. Michael Shimmick, the sacks leader, not just in Division II, Division I, Division III, all of them. He led every division, and he's the defensive end for Ashland. So those are the 3 guys for Super Region 3 that I think will make it out. They only get 2, so it's going to be a tough challenge between, I think, Shimmick and Sukup, but I think Sukup, just the way he took this team over the past 3 years, the leader, he is the leader of this team. If he plays good, the team plays good. If the team plays bad, it's usually because he's not doing his best. And we got to see a great Gavin Sukup come out and give Minnesota State just about everything they could handle.
And taking a look at this program now, led by Coach Keevers, who finds playoff appearance and now a 4th straight conference title. How does this Greyhound team, this Greyhound program rebuild? That's not easy to say after the best quarterback you've ever had, but Josh Keith's he's nobody to walk over, nobody to glance over.
You listed off the seniors when you got done with your broadcast over on 88.7 WICR. There was a lot of them. This team's losing a lot. But you also got to think this is the transfer portal era. There's a lot of guys. This season did not end the way you would have liked it to end.
With a number 8 in front of your name as well, that's a big draw.
You hate to say it, but in the transfer portal era, nobody's safe. I mean, we were sitting here thinking maybe Gavin Sukup wouldn't be in a Greyhound jersey this year just because of how things are. I mean, see what Lane Kiffin did. He left a playoff team to go to a team who only won 4 games all year. So anything could happen in the transfer portal era. I will say it has a little bit less of an effect on the D2 world, but this is not the way you wanted the season to end if you are that coaching staff trying to bring some great players back.
And talking about a program who continues to soar, this volleyball team finds their first NCAA Midwest regional appearance since 2019 under first-year head coach Haley Case. And to boot, a freshman of the year and Carly Fonda at setter. This team has majorly exceeded expectations, and up and down this roster, even though it's a brand new look almost, this was a great team, a fun team to watch this season, still with some work left to do.
Absolutely. They got a tall task in front of them in UMSL. They just lost to them in the conference tournament, I believe the second round of the conference tournament, and then they also lost to them earlier in the season. So not exactly the draw you were looking for, but a team that is beatable.
And it's hard to beat any team 3 times, right, no matter who you are. But number 25 in the country will be a tall task for the Hounds. We'll follow UIndy Volleyball as they head through their postseason journey, continue through the NCAA Midwest Regional. When we come back, IU whooped up on Purdue. They held the bucket up after a huge rivalry week. We'll talk Division I football after this on Last Call.
Okay, guys, seriously, basketball and hockey have got to be the best sports around. Speed, skill, drama, 7-game series, they have got it all.
Nah, baseball is the best sport, and that's just a fact, Jace.
You guys are both wrong. It's 100% football. You guys need to get on the football train.
Everyone stop. Why fight now when you can watch us debate on Grand Slam Sports on YouTube on Fridays at 6 p.m. or on Xfinity Channel 1096.
Another dominant victory for IU and Coach Ignetti, 56-3, one of the headliners of a rivalry week, seeing what will be number 1 and number 2 to meet each other in the Big Ten Championship. And for us here in the Midwest, that's something that we're looking forward to even before we get to our big bracket, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes, Jake.
And you'll look at this Purdue game and see that Mendoza only was 8 for 15. You might think he had a bad game. He just didn't need to play. Right. It's one of those games where you're trying to keep you guys healthy. You're going into that Big Ten Championship. You know what's ahead of you. You don't want to sleepwalk through a game like this, but it's 2-10 Purdue. Come on, man. There was really no doubt in my mind that IU was going to win this game by 50 points. They came out and did that. Now it's on to Ohio State. The tough task. Everybody has the question of, can IU's offense overpower Ohio State's defense? And I think we got a pretty good tell of that this weekend against Michigan. They struggled against that Ohio State defense.
Well, Michigan, I don't think they're the team that they've been in past years, and they're no slouch. They're no slouch to be frank and to be fair to that Michigan team and that program over there. But I also don't think we've seen IU push to the limit just yet. They've brought out some big games, and against it shouldn't have been a close one against Iowa, and they won a good one against Oregon at Oregon. I think we really see the clash of the two best, and sometimes it's not that way, even it is 1 and 2, just the way that schedules line up, the way that voting pans out. But I really think we're seeing the two best teams in the country duke it out for the Big Ten championship, and we might even get to see them do that later on in the college football playoff.
I would love to see a rematch of that in the college football playoffs. But as I look at this matchup, I do like IU's offense against Ohio State's defense. You take out Caleb Downs, and you got a couple guys that like to rack up penalties. So if IU can exploit the secondary, I think that's where they're going to have the advantage. If they can throw the ball deep, keep it away from Caleb Downs, that's where you're going to find some success. They also have to run the ball. That's always an important thing for IU. But I just look at this Ohio State defense. Man, it's a tough defense.
Yeah.
I don't know how they put up 20, 30 points. And if Ohio State scores 21, they might win this game 21-14.
And you did bring up that Iowa game a few weeks ago, and I felt that you have a valid point. If IU struggles against Iowa, then we'll see how they perform against Ohio State. But looking at the 1 and 2 seeds, they'll have a first-round bye accompanied by Georgia after their big win against Georgia Tech, which was a nail-biter if you watched that one. And Texas Tech sneaks in at the 4. You might say, where's Texas A&M? Well, that boy Arch Manning sent them all the way back to the 6th spot. We're looking at Bleacher Report's predictions for the college football playoff. So we'll look at the first round as it follows. So start up in South Bend with Notre Dame and Oklahoma. I'm Caden Colford, by the way, with Jake Helton. And now we want to bring it in to Freddy Hawthorne. Freddie, we've been talking Notre Dame all year, what their path looked like to the playoff. Looks like they've secured that 9 seed to this point. What can you say about their first round matchup against Oklahoma and what that looks like for them?
I think this will be a big task for Notre Dame. When we look back into the regular season, those 2 losses, both of these teams are still in the playoffs. A&M, we've seen that they've dropped to 7. But Miami, they've also dropped to 11. But honestly, I still have Notre Dame sneaking out of that first-round game. This will be a tough fight for them. But I do see Notre Dame winning that first game against Oklahoma. But after that, it won't be anything else for Notre Dame.
Jake, you're shaking your head. Are you not faithful in Fighting Irish?
Yeah, not so fast, my friend. I got a very, very good look and had my mind changed yesterday. I was scrolling on the good old Instagram, coming across a couple videos, and I saw this one that was talking about Notre Dame, and it just made sense to me. It made complete sense to me that Notre Dame does not have the strength of schedule that anybody else on that bubble has. Notre Dame played Boston College. It was a 2-score game against Boston College. They played Syracuse. They played the bottom of the ACC, and they're riding the coattail of 2 losses to now what is now no longer a top 10 team, and Texas A&M, who's now ranked 7th. And I think we know Texas A&M is not the monster, at least not the monster I thought they were, because they got blown out. That was not a game against Texas. There was never a point where I thought Texas A&M had a chance. And you look at their schedule, once again, picking off the bottom of the SEC. They played the bottom 6 SEC schools. I just look at strength of schedule right now. Notre Dame does not have a better strength of schedule than Miami. It doesn't have a better strength of schedule than Alabama. And honestly, BYU is an 11-1 team that's only loss is to now the number 4 team in the nation. And BYU is not in the top 12? Disrespect.
Freddie, is that fair to say?
Well, on different sites, I'm looking off of NCAA right now. On NCAA, BYU is number 12. So that'd be something very interesting to look at as we're going into, these final weeks of just football play. But I don't know. I think I'm still fighting for Notre Dame. I still think they do have a chance. I'm not going to doubt the talent of that offense, the talent of Jeremiah Love back there at running back. I think he's a Heisman candidate personally. So it'd be interesting to look at. I'm not going to disagree with Jake because I do see where you're coming from with the schedule and how it has mapped out the past few weeks with, these teams losing games. So it'll definitely be an interesting game to look at, Caden.
I want to go on the record and say I would love to have Notre Dame in over Miami and BYU. I think Notre Dame versus Alabama at that 8-9 game is probably the best game of the year, maybe the best game of the playoffs. But you have to respect the foundation you've already laid. They've set a precedent that if you lose one of your big pieces, Florida State lost their quarterback. I don't know that a head coach is necessarily a starting quarterback, but that's a big part of that team for Ole Miss. Ole Miss is going to drop in the eyes of the committee. There's no doubt in my mind. And that's going to allow some room for Notre Dame to work their way back up in there. And that's I think Notre Dame, they have a spot, but if Duke wins in Virginia, if Virginia wins the ACC, that allows JMU, maybe North Texas, to take that fifth auto bid, and that's where you start seeing a little bit of trouble for Notre Dame.
And we'll talk about a few teams that you have mentioned. Catty corner from that Notre Dame side of the bracket. You'll see Virginia, who will sit around that 11th spot, and Texas A&M, who falls into 6th. First, after a huge loss to Texas at Texas, one might ask, does Texas A&M deserve that 6th seed? And after a huge loss, I'll say it was at Texas. Texas unbeaten at home this year, and I think Arch Manning got continually better as the season progresses. I think people really did not give the flowers to Texas that they were due towards the end of the season. Now, I understand that they didn't start the way that they should have if you're going to be a playoff contender, which is why I don't think we see them in this bracket here today. But Texas A&M at 6 speaks fine to me. I still think they're a team to worry about come the playoffs.
Me personally, I have Ole Miss over them just because I don't care about Lane Kiffin. He's not calling the plays. I get that it's a big part of the team and whatever, but he's not the one calling the plays. They still have their defensive coordinator. I think Todd Golding is the guy that's going to take over for him. So whatever it is, they're going to be fine. And especially if they match up against an ACC team, I mean, that's a joke. The ACC, Kirk Herbstreit's been talking a lot about it, him and Nick Saban on College Game Day. They've said the automatic bid should only count for the top. You should be in the top 15, top 20, 25, something like that. There's got to be a cap on it because if Duke were to make it as an automatic bid from the ACC, I know they're not going to, but that's ridiculous. A 5-loss team, that's not going to happen. And to the Texas point, they lost to Florida, man. I don't care if it's in the swamp. I don't care where it's at. You lost to Florida. They haven't been good in 3-4 years now, probably even longer than that. That's the bad loss. I take bad losses more than I kind of take a good strength of schedule. If you lose to a bad team, what are you going to do in the playoffs when a good team comes in and they're playing great football?
Well, Freddie, we'll take a look at the top right side of our bracket, and you could see Texas A&M, you could see Ole Miss playing a number 10 Alabama. And the reason I'm bringing this up is the winner of that game is probably going to go on to play number 2 IU. Do you feel that there is a favorable matchup between an Alabama and Ole Miss or Texas A&M for an IU team?
Well, when we talk about Texas A&M, I'm kind of concerned about them going up against Bama. When you look at that Texas loss and you look at the talent that this Alabama team has, I don't honestly see Texas A&M making it out of that game. And if that does happen, that puts IU up against an SEC team in Alabama or another strong team in Ole Miss. And that is kind of a concern for me as well. We haven't seen Alabama go up against an SEC juggernaut team yet, so that'd be an interesting thing to look at when we get to the playoffs. And like I've always said for IU, this is the time for them to prove everyone wrong. We haven't seen them go up against most of these season playoffs. We've seen them against Oregon. We've seen them, I think that's just it, Oregon. But, this will be a good time for them to prove a lot of people wrong. These SEC schools are strong. They do have powerhouses in the defense and the offensive end. So, yes, I am interested to see what IU does do.
We're going to get a great tell of this in the IU-Ohio State game. However IU handles Ohio State's defense is exactly how they would handle an SEC defense. No doubt about that. Maybe a little bit of change in the game plan from Cignetti. But I want to talk about this 12 spot because who's getting in? Is it JMU? Is it North Texas? There's a lot of different teams that I guess Tulane is the one that they have in there. Tulane's been on there for the past 3 weeks, and I've never once thought Tulane was going to make it in there. North Texas, I think they got them. And then, honestly, I think JMU might even deserve to be in over top of them.
Well, it's hard to say. North Texas is actually on my bracket right here, which I think it is a toss-up. Now, if you ask me, do I think that 12 spot has any chance against the number 5 Oregon or any other team that may be in the number 5 spot? I'm pretty sure it's going to be Oregon. No, I think Oregon wipes the floor with their 12 spot and waltzes into play Texas Tech. And don't be surprised if it's Oregon playing Ohio State in the semifinal to go play possibly an IU team in the national championship.
That's a reasonable thing to say. I think Texas Tech might be a little bit better than people are leading on, or at least giving them. The Big 12 is a lot better of a conference than it has been over the past couple of years. I mean, talking back to when Patrick Mahomes was at Texas Tech and RG3 was at Baylor, that was like the last time I can remember the Big 12 being really, really good. But anyway, nonetheless, this is going to be one of the best. I know that this is just the second year of the 12-team bracket, but we're in for a treat. There's a lot of good games lined up.
A lot of good games and hopefully a few good games in store for the Colts. Didn't see their best outing yesterday. We're going to break it down and we're going to wage the question, should we hit the panic button on Indianapolis? Find out next on Last Call.
News. How much time we got? Okay. Coffee. I love coffee.
We're on the air.
All right. Good evening, I'm Chris Hammer, here to report the news for you. For your campus, local, and national headlines, UIndy TV News has got you covered. Wednesdays at 6.
We're back, and now we're starting to tally up some Colts losses. Not something we like to do here on Last Call. Caden Colford, Jake Helton, Freddy Hawthorne to my right. Guys, I want to open up a discussion talking about this team losing at home to the Texans and what a lot of people are going to consider a wishy-washy ref fest. Okay, Colts lose, and they don't even put up 3 scores against the Texans. 20-16, seeing Houston over their division rival in the Colts. First thoughts, Jake?
Let's just go ahead and get the referee thing out of the way. It was a delay of game at the start of the fourth quarter. The pass interference that led to the score should not have probably happened. We'll say that, and then we can also say the field goal definitely should not have counted. Definitely should not have counted. I think the Colts got skimped a little bit by the calls, but nonetheless, this was still a very winnable game at home. Your quarterback's injured. He finds a way to play pretty good. I mean, you look at Daniel Jones' stats. I mean, that's just a typical Sunday afternoon for Danny Jones these days, and 2 touchdowns is exactly what you needed from him. You just need a little bit of support from the run game.
Freddie, this is a Colts team that is dealing with semi-injured quarterback in Daniel Jones right now, even though he is playing well. That is something that we have to monitor as the season progresses, right? Because if he is going to continue to play, he's going to continue to play on an injured leg week after week after week. Come the first round of playoffs, this guy is going to be tired, and now we're starting to see a few losses pile up. So, Freddie, my question to you is, where should the headspace of the Colts be right now, and how much stock are you putting into this team at this point in the season?
I think the Colts' headspace right now needs to be in revamping and trying to better the defense. Honestly, when you look at this Colts team, one thing that has been a big concern for me is their ability to get off the field on third downs. The Colts, they have to find a way to get off the field on third down. I've watched so many games, and I cannot tell you how many times on third down this defense has just found a way to just allow this offense to keep driving down the field. And that's a frustrating part for me, at least, when being a Colts fan, is just watching this defense, watching this secondary, and just, having that be, their Achilles heel.
This team now 8-4 on the season after a miraculous, spectacular start, right? And Houston now creeping up to 7-5 on the season. And the defense, I would say, hasn't been amazing this year, but putting up 16 against the Texans, in my eyes, is unacceptable.
I would have to agree, and I think it goes back to how you started the game. It was just a slow start for the Colts, 2 field goals. I mean, whatever. But you look at the rest of the schedule for the Colts. They got to go play the Seahawks, who just blanked the Vikings. They got to go play the Jaguars next week in Jacksonville. We know that's almost an impossible game to win. They also got to play the 49ers. That's a home game, but so was this one. And then they got to play the Texans. And they had to go to Houston to play the Texans again. You were sleeping on the Texans last week. I told you not to. They're actually becoming better and better every week, kind of like a couple of other teams right now. But the reason why we bring up, do we hit the panic button with the Colts? They have such a hard schedule, and they have just now started playing pretty crappy. I don't know that I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to lay off the panic button, at least for this week. I won't push the panic button, but the play calling hasn't been great. The execution hasn't been great. They haven't been able to finish games. Can't lean on the run game. Jonathan Taylor's had 2 bad games in a row now. Where do you go if you're a Colts fan? Where do you go if you're a Colts fan right now? Where do you go if you're Shane Steichen? Nothing's working for him.
Freddie, panic button? Yes, he says. Yes, tell me why.
I'm panicking hard, and that is just because I've seen this before. I've seen the Colts play well and then just go on a complete downward spiral at the end of the year, and their schedule does not help. When you look at this point in the football season, everyone's trying to win, everyone's trying to make the playoffs, and when you've lost 2 straight games, when your best player isn't playing at his best towards the end of the season when he needs to be, you should be panicking.
I think the Daniel Jones injury, while he did play good, you can't keep doing that. I mean, we'll see, but eventually it's just going to get to a point where you're not able to move on it. He wasn't the most mobile whenever he was in the pocket.
And where I noticed that is teams are going to blitz Daniel Jones every single down. And when you have an injured man running for his life every single play, this offensive line is not playing anywhere near as good as it needs to right now. To support a run game of Jonathan Taylor, to support an injured quarterback now and Daniel Jones, we might be seeing some Anthony Richardson days right around the corner.
I hope we don't. I really, really hope we don't see Anthony Richardson. That's a bad sign for Colts fan. There are 5 games left in the season. If the Colts can win 2 of the last 5 games, they will be in the playoffs. But I just don't know that that's is that the way you want to go into the playoffs? You win 2 of the last 7 games?
Sour note right now. Sour note. And you have discussions to have at the quarterback spot, discussions to have in that coaching room with their scheming, how they're going to approach these final 5 games of the season. Jake, do you put them around? Do you think they'll win those 2 games?
I think they will. They have to find a way to beat Jacksonville in one of these games, and they have to beat Houston the last week of the season. If they lose to Houston 2 times in a row, that's going to – any tiebreaker that they had the chance of winning right now, the Colts and the Jags are tied for the division. The Jags have that tiebreaker because they beat Houston and the Colts did not. So they have the tiebreaker right now, strength of schedule-wise. They have to beat the Seahawks, and they have to beat the Jaguars. That's my 2 things. That Houston game is going to look pretty bad if they don't win that one at the end of the season. You just got to look at how other teams are looking at them come playoff time. Are they looking – it's going to be a bunch of wolves looking at a bunch of chickens, and the Colts are the chickens.
Freddie, 2 games against the Jaguars, 1 against the Texans. You'll have the Niners and the Seahawks. How many games do you see the Colts winning to close out their year?
I want to say 2, but this is once again, a very concerning patch, a very concerning, a few weeks that they're going to have to go through right now. And with them not playing their best, honestly, Caden, I couldn't tell you. I can tell you, who knows? They might not win a single game with how they're playing right now.
That's the beauty
they
of
might
it.
not
You
win a
have
single
no
game.
idea what this Colts team.
They might not win a single game.
No idea what they're going to do. They're going to come out and give you 500 yards of total offense one day, and then they're going to come out and drop 13 against the Jaguars, probably at home.
There is a good chance that they come out and put up 35 points on the Jags, shock everybody, they win that game. There is a chance that happens, but is it a good chance? No, it's not a good chance. I think there's a better chance that they come out and get blown out by the Jaguars, and maybe everybody that was talking at the beginning of the season, the Colts will be the Colts eventually. I guess we might have been wrong.
A tale as old as time. Send up some prayers for Indy as we move into the Primetime Pick Em for the last time this semester. Freddie, thank you for your input today. And I might have to phone a Freddie here in a few picks because we have a couple that you could toss up, okay? Pistons at Bucks is where we'll start on our NBA slate. Detroit's been playing well recently, but the Bucks, they've seen that continued success year after year. Where's your head at, Jake?
I actually stole one from you last week picking against the Pistons, but I didn't realize until after we got done they only have like 3 losses on the season. So I'm gonna go with the Pistons here simply because I know you're gonna pick the Bucks.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm going to take one from you here in a similar Pistons game. I'm going to take Giannis and the Bucks. Throw up a Miles Turner 14-2 on the night. Yeah, 14-2 from Big MT. Let's see it.
I would love to see what his in a Milwaukee uniform. What's his plus minus? I guarantee you it's minus 100.
-4.
He's so bad that the Pacers are making hate posts at the games about him. They're putting his stats up on the big screen at Pacers games because how bad he is. He's dropping like 4 and 2.
Isaiah Jackson has more double-doubles this season than Miles Turner has in a Bucks uniform.
All right.
Just something to note. And don't worry, when last call is gone, we might even post some reels of Miles Turner. Man, when I think of Miles Turner, this is what happens to me. Miles Turner is a basketball player. Restart it. And even our TV has no desire to hear, talk, or see Miles Turner on the basketball floor. Hey, he's somewhere shooting 30-footers, and he's bricking them too, throwing them off the backboard. So even though I take the Bucks, we'll take that 14-2. We'll move to the Lakers. They'll travel to Toronto, play the Raptors, who are playing good basketball as of late, Jake.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I was going to go with the Raptors, but Luka, I don't think I could pick against him, and I'm going to go with the Lakers on this one. I just think that he gives them the advantage.
You know, I'm a competitor, okay, and I've been playing this Primetime Pick 'em back when it was a Monday Football Forecast with Graham Shear, okay? And I've been in your spot before when I was just 1 or 2 games behind. And when Graham picks the favorites every single time, it's hard to come back. So you know what? I'm going to give you a chance to take a game back. But I do think the Raptors are going to win at home and ride their hot streak. However, Austin Reeves, his numbers he's putting up aside Luka, he's killing right now.
That's a dynamic duo right there. I mean, you always want to look at like the LeBrons and the Kyries, but maybe sometimes you got to go to the underrated duo.
Okay.
Out in LA. But anyway, we'll move on to the next one. We were just talking Spurs and Nuggets during that little break there. This is Spurs and Cavs. I'm going Cavs though. The Spurs looked good. They beat the Nuggets. No Wemby. Give me the Cavs.
Okay, I got to phone a friend and phone a Freddy here because I feel like this game can go either way. This team and the Spurs beat the Nuggets just a week ago without Wemby. Freddie, can I phone you in and ask for your pick in Spurs at Cavs?
Give me the Spurs. I don't
Okay,
care.
I'll run with it. Let's run with it.
I like De'Aaron Fox. I like that backcourt they have in there. Give me San Antonio.
I knew that was coming. But you know what? If it's a free pick for me, it's a free pick for me.
I don't mind it at all. Titans at Browns, our next look on Sundays. This one's going to be in Cleveland with 2 of the best the league has to offer.
This was, I got the chance to pick a couple of the primetime pick ems. I picked this one. This is a barn burner right here. Shedeur Sanders, maybe Dylan Gabriel versus Cam Ward in the Titans. 1 win on the season. Do they get number 2? No, they do not. I got the Browns. Myles Garrett, he's going to wreak some havoc back in that backfield.
I'll take the Browns as well in a 7-6 destroyer of a game. 7-6. Give me Cleveland on their home turf.
That means the Titans are definitely winning that game. But the next one is a 50-50 for me, as 50-50 gets. Bears at Packers. I picked against the Bears last week, and for that very reason, I will pick the Bears this week.
You know, they're the hottest team in football at Chicago, right? And they're actually leading the NFC North right now. That's insane. The Bears on top of the NFC North with the Packers in it, with the Lions in it, who a lot of people considered the Lions to be Super Bowl contenders before the season, and the Packers Super Bowl contenders after the first few weeks. But the Bears look like the best team in that division.
The Bears are the only team not goofing around. I don't know what the Packers are doing. I don't know what the Lions are doing. I don't know what's going on in that division. And obviously Minnesota looks horrible. They just got blown out by Sam Darnold. You win 14 games. You let your starting quarterback leave. He comes back and smacks you in the face.
Packers are going to lock in on Sunday, though. Nope. Hate to say it. At Lambeau. When's the last time the Bears won at Lambeau? They probably don't have it written down.
This might be a historic comeback. I might go 5 for 5 this week.
5 for 5, huh?
Let's take a look at the records. I know I did bad last week. Let's do it. Just pop them up. Rip off the Band-Aid. I know I have at least one loss, or one extra loss, I should say, from last week. Unfortunately, I'm being told we do not have the graphic for that, but
just know where you sit.
Caden is 3 games ahead of me right now, unless you don't want to count that game, maybe.
Which game?
No,
which game are you talking about?
The Eagles game.
Oh, the Eagles game. Oh, Dallas. Dallas winning against Philadelphia. You know what? That's football at its best. That's professional sports at its best. We'll go ahead and keep it, and we'll call the gap what it's at right now.
I guess we got to answer the question, though. We rolling it over to next semester?
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Absolutely. You're going to see numbers in the triple digits by the time that we're done. At least in my win column, we're going to see 101 by the time that our season of last call
we're going to have to up the amount of games we do.
But for the semester, that's going to be it. Big thanks to Freddy Hawthorne to my right, Jake Helton to my left, Latif Mustafa, Addison Mosley, Grant, my guy, Grant Kelly. Nate Long's also back there for a lot of episodes. Rick Dunkel, this entire UIndy TV staff for having us on the desk. Last call at its best. Primetime Pick 'em to continue with Jake, Caden, and Freddie next year.